Let's talk about scopes. If your footage looks flat and dull as you scroll through your feed compared to someone else's, I would put money on your black point being too high. Open up your waveform and have a look at where the bottom of your signal is sitting in your footage. 0 IRE is black, everything else is grey. So if your image looks a little bit like this, pull the signal down until it's sitting somewhere between 0 and 5 IRE. If I'm onto something, you should see a noticeable difference in your footage. That is just one of the many things that you can see from your scopes without even needing to look at the image. And most importantly, they are consistent when everything else isn't. Anyway, let's get into the scopes. The waveform is your perfect reference for tonal balance. It shows how your brightness values are distributed across the frame. The bright areas sit at the top of the waveform, the dark areas at the bottom. If you switch your waveform over to RGB mode, you get color information as well. This is effectively 3 stacked waveforms, one for each color channel. You're generally looking for a full balanced distribution without anything important clipping at the top or too many details getting crushed down in the shadows at the bottom. Generally, your skin tones will sit somewhere in the middle. Obviously, use some intuition. If you're filming in a very dark room, most of the information will be at the bottom of the waveform, and that is fine. I generally prefer to have a clean black point in most of my images, and the waveform is a great way to check this. The parade. Similar information, but the 3 channels are side by side instead of stacked. This is a little bit easier to read if you're checking black or white points across the 3 channels. This is also the best tool for white balancing to a grey card in post. You just look for the card on each of the 3 channels, and you make the levels match. Obviously, you're probably not doing this in a club, but it's good to know. The vectorscope. This one plots color, hue, and saturation specifically. The further a value sits from the center of the vectorscope, the more saturated it is, and the direction is the hue. If everything is pushed too far from the center, chances are you are oversaturated. If your white balance is off, the mass of the plot on the vectorscope will generally be drifting in one direction or another. It's usually easier to spot here than anywhere else. Obviously, there's some nuance to that when we're filming in a club with entirely blue or orange lighting. Take it with a pinch of salt. On that note, there is also a skin tone line, a fixed reference for where natural skin tones should sit. This is mostly useful in like daylight or clean white lighting like this to make sure that your skin tones aren't drifting to green or magenta. Again, if the club lights are blue, the people are going to be blue. You don't need to white balance them back to normal. None of these scopes replaces a good eye. You can't just do all of your color work using the scopes and the scopes alone. But having a good understanding and some experience of using the scopes will just make sure that you're not delivering something that is wildly inaccurate that you will regret in the morning. There is no better way to combat something like an uncalibrated monitor or tired eyes at 5 in the morning than properly using your scopes, so hopefully some of this helped.